What a great crowd,
Welcome
man.
to, yeah, they're amazing. Are you kidding me?
They're amazing. I love it. Good
Welcome to the
energy.
show.
Who did they think was coming? I don't know, but whatever. Thanks for staying.
How can you can't say that about yourself. You are Will Packer. You are the person who has created some of the most popular movies that are out. For instance, Girls Trip was the first film that was... It was the first film that was written, directed by and starred African Americans that went on to cross $100 million.
Yeah,
that's
proud
amazing.
of that, man. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
When you're making these films, is there a part of you that thinks to yourself how important it is for the films to be successful so that Hollywood takes Black Hollywood as seriously as it does every other film?
No question. There's like an added pressure because when you look like me and you're making films that star people, you know, who don't look like what Hollywood has made forever, right? Forever, it's always been like a white guy, and typically he was an action movie, and they made $1 billion around the world. Well, now, you know, I make movies that star African Americans. I make movies that, you know, written and directed by, and if they do not work, make no mistake, Hollywood will say that's not what people want to see.
Right.
And so, absolutely, I feel that added pressure to have my films not only be good and have a good narrative and have the audience enjoy them, but for them to work. Because Hollywood's a business at the end of the day.
Right.
It's a business like any other business. I want my business to be successful so that I can do more.
What do you think the secret is to making it appeal to everybody? Because I know a lot of the misconceptions are people will be like, well, Will, I mean, I love it, but it's a Black film. I mean, you know, how do we appeal to everybody? But your films are funny. They are good. Yeah. What do you think the secret is? Is there a secret?
You know what it is? I try to make movies that feel inclusive, not exclusive. I really do. I try to make movies that have universal themes.
Right.
That just happen to have Black and brown people in front of the camera.
Right.
You look at Girls Trip, that could have been anybody. You know, that could have been anybody going to New Orleans, getting drunk and behaving badly.
Right. Anyone could have been stuck on a zip line and peeing on people below them.
Absolutely.
That could be anyone.
Sure.
Yeah, could have been me. Could have been me. This documentary is a complete departure from what we associate the name Will Packer with.
Totally different.
Right. This is a documentary about 23 young Black kids in Atlanta who were killed, completely missing. Why do you even begin to start making this story?
You know, it goes back to what we talked about. I'm in a position where I can create content, and I live in Atlanta. I was raised in the South. I grew up in Florida, and I knew this story, and I knew not a lot of people knew it.
Right.
And it's exactly what you said. Like, that travesty happened. It is literally one of the greatest American tragedies that happened in this country, where 23 children were murdered, kidnapped, murdered within a 23-month span, and it took a very long time for it to even make national news. It was at a time when Atlanta was a city who had just gotten its first Black mayor. We were coming out of the civil rights movement at that time. It happened, the first murder happened in '79. And a lot of people said, we don't need this right now. Atlanta is a city that we're trying to tell people we're too busy to hate.
Right.
This is something that we kind of need to go away. And because these kids were poor, and because they were Black, and because they didn't have means, and they didn't have people advocating for them, it was easier to victimize them. And that's still true today. The most vulnerable amongst us, it is still easier for them to be taken advantage of, whether they're Black kids or immigrants or whatever it is. You know, for me, it was about telling this story so that we could be aware that this did happen in this country.
Right.
If we're not careful, it could happen again.
That's what I enjoyed about the documentary, is that it's less of an indictment on one specific person or a bad guy per se, and it asks questions. You know, questions that are laid out. How was this not a bigger story? Why were there not more resources poured into this? How is this a crime that was never solved, or crimes, plural, that were never solved? And in many ways, when I was watching the documentary, it reminded me of what people said in and around the R. Kelly story, and that was victims who are of a certain color or victims who come from a certain background are less likely to be focused on by the mainstream news.
Yeah.
When you were talking to these parents in the documentary, did they look at this documentary as some sort of closure? Was it hard for them to relive the experience?
You know what? It was certainly difficult. That's the unfathomable, right? You know, losing a child. There's nothing. It's unimaginable, that level of pain, and you're never the same. But it's interesting you said closure, because for a lot of the victims' families, you know, no one is in jail who has been tried and convicted and had to be held responsible for the murders of these children.
Right.
What happened, and you'll see this in the documentary, there is somebody that's in jail. His name is Wayne Williams, and he was convicted of murdering 2 adults around that same time.
Right.
And when it happened, when they arrested him and tied him to evidence for those other murders, the other murders stopped. And it was very convenient at the time for the city, law enforcement, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, people, black, white, everybody said, listen, this is the guy. He did them all. We need to close these cases. And so for these families, they never got a chance to have closure.
Right.
They never got a chance to say, this is the person who needs to be held accountable for what happened to my child. And so it was definitely liberating for them to be able to tell their stories. And that's what we wanted to do. They haven't had a national platform like this to tell what it was like to be a parent during that time.
It really is a powerful story that shows you how much it could change a city and a country. I mean, there's footage that you have in the documentary of the PSAs that would come on television where they would say, it is 10 p.m.
Yes.
Is your child indoors?
Do you know where your child is?
Do you know where your child is? And
Yeah.
this really became a trying time for Atlanta. When you talk to the families, has there been some sort of journey that they've had to go on to even begin rebuilding their lives? What do you find, you know, people have connected with to try and have some semblance of I guess, healing?
Yeah, you know, it didn't end well for many of the parents afterwards. We talk about that in the doc as well.
Right.
This is real life, and these are complex issues. And so some of the parents were never the same. Some got involved with drugs and crime and other challenges that didn't exist before.
Right.
And a lot of them just never felt like anybody heard them. Right? Obviously, if you have one child that, you know, is kidnapped and murdered, that's one child too many.
Right.
To think that you could have 23 that happened in this country, and for so very long, nobody stepped up and said, there must be a pattern, that we must put all our resources behind it. People with power and with means, they decide where the resources go. And so those are the most vulnerable amongst us,
Right.
those that don't have a platform, those that don't have means. You know, those are the ones that need our, as a society, protection the most, and they didn't get it. So it is, it's been really, really tough for those families, but I am glad that we're able to tell the story, because it's one of those things where you have to know your history. You know, we're in a different time now. Things happen differently. You know, for the good and the bad of it, social media does give voice to some groups of people that don't have voices, and that's a good thing. But the fact that it happened could happen again if we're not careful, because we still have those whose lives are not valued on the same way as people who have money, who have influence, who have power.
Yeah, it really is a powerful story. I'd recommend everybody watch it, and every film that you're making. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
The Atlanta Child Murders will premiere March 23rd at 9 p.m. on Investigation Discovery. We'll pack everybody.